my fellow creators, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be making some birthday cards. Now I am going to use this paper pad from Brass and Bliss Craft Co. and it's Party Time paper pad. I'm not sure if it's still available, but I will link to Brass and Bliss in the description box. Now I've gone ahead and gotten all my pieces ready to make the cards. And my sentiments are actually some sentiments from Sassy's LLC. So I'll link to her channel as well. She always has free printables with different sentiments throughout the year. She does it twice a month. I think it's the first and the third Friday of the month. Anyway, and then she always has some extra bonus printables, which I think is great. So it's not just sentiments she does. She does digital images, digital pattern paper. So really cute. So I'll link to that. Now, what I use to cut my sentiments and the layers I'm going to use behind them is this, oh, I can't think of the name of it. It's a die set from Sassy's LLC. It's die set number 1 to use with her printables. So you can cut out the rectangle printables she has, the circle ones, lots of good pieces in this die set. I will link to this one because this one is available at Trinity Stamp, and I think it's also available at scrapbook.com. But I'll be sure to link to this in the description box. Now, the reason for making birthday cards, friends, let me tell you. I'm making lots and lots of birthday cards, and a lot of my friends from the Creator Collective are also making birthday cards. And the reason is we're going to be donating them to Cards for Cubs. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about Cards for Cubs as I put my cards together. So Cards for Cubs is this wonderful organization that donates cards to foster children. And of course it's put on by the people of my favorite liquid glue, Barely Art Glue. Love them. So what they do is they collect cards in March. So right now is the perfect time to be prepping all your cards for the card drive. So really this month is our preparation month, I think. And then once you have all your cards ready to go, you can mail them to Cards for Cubs. Now, they do have some guidelines. So they ask that all cards be handmade, of course, and that they look for either 5x7 cards, A7, 4x6, which are A6 cards, or 4 1/4 by 5.5, which are A2 cards, which is what I'm making today. Now, I already sent them a box for auctioning because they auction off cards as well. And I sent mine in already. And the way that they prefer to have cards sent when you're sending like a big batch like I did is in the medium flat rate boxes from the post office, the U.S. Post Office. And that's exactly what I did. Now, they ask that the cards be blank on the inside, so they don't want any, writing on the inside. That way they can be used for any age foster child. And then they also, excuse me, ask for birthday and encouragement cards. So they even have some free printables with birthday phrases and encouragement phrases. So I'll link to the Cards for Cubs website so you can get all that information that I'm giving you. Now, they ask that the cards are good for anyone. So regardless of religion, culture, age, gender, that they could be used for anyone. So I sent a wide variety of cards to them. And the box I sent was all birthday cards. So these foster kids can get them. Now, if you're sending a big batch, you send them in bundles of 10, and you also send envelopes with them. So the way I do it, and I'll show you just one second, is, oh my goodness, I did this crooked. no matter, I can fix it, is you bundle your cards, but with each card inside the flap of an envelope. So let's say this was a completed card. You put it like this, and then put 10 together, and then wrap them together. What I do is wrap them with twine, because I think like if you use rubber bands, sometimes they bite into the cards, and you don't want that to happen. So you can send like duplicated designs. For example, if you do a sheet load of cards, if you do any like sketch cards that you get multiple cards of the same design, that's fine. You can send those. They are okay with shaker cards, spinner cards, window cards. It's wonderful. They encourage creativity. So I think it's perfect that they have this donation every year for foster kids, because let me tell you, when I was still working before I retired, when I first started, I started as a school secretary at an elementary school, and I had to kind of be, I don't know, a mother figure to some of the kids. They would come into the office, so happy to see me, and even after they left elementary school, they would come back and let me know about their accomplishments, which I thought was wonderful. I loved seeing my kiddos grow up and do great things. And I did call them my kiddos, because to me, all the children at the school I worked at, it was like they were my kids. So having worked with all kinds of students, I did have the occasion to have students that were in foster care. And so I know how much just the simplest little bit of love or encouragement can mean to them. Because I think a lot of people think, oh, well, they're probably happy, they're better off because they're not with their parents who, they may have been abusive or neglectful, and that's why they were removed from the home. So you think, oh, they're probably better off. You know what? Good, bad, or indifferent, their parents are still their parents. And so it's hard for them to be without their parents. So we did have a few families that were in that situation. Now, I'll tell you, there was one family in particular, and the kids were the sweetest. It was a brother and sister, and when they were first enrolled in our school, they were living with mom, but it was kind of a neglectful home and situation. And eventually social services got involved, and the children were removed from the home, but they kept going to this same school. We had this wonderful agreement across all the districts in the county, where it didn't matter if they didn't live in your homeschool area. If they were foster students, you tried and keep them at that same school. So at least they have that consistency, the consistency and the stability of the school that they go to. So that was always something I thought was wonderful that we did for our community and our students. But yeah, when I saw this card drive for Cards for Cubs, I knew. I said, I have to do this, because as I'm making these cards, I'm thinking of the students that I knew were in that situation. I'm thinking of that brother and sister that my sweet little babies, they would come to school often late and hungry. And, by the time they got to school, I'm not saying super late, maybe 15, 20 minutes late, but by the time they got to school, the cafeteria had stopped serving breakfast. And so, they were hungry, and I knew it. And so our cafeteria staff was the best, and they knew I would be sending them over probably a little bit late to get their breakfast. So they always had some breakfast ready to give to any students that came in late. Obviously there was a time where we just had to stop sending it to the cafeteria, but if they got there, within 20, 30 minutes late of school start time, the cafeteria was wonderful, and they would have something for them to eat. So like I said, when I'm making these cards, I'm thinking of those students, of the ones that just had a little bit of a hiccup in their life, and to them, school was a safe place, was another home for them. Okay, so here's card number 1. And what you'll see I did here is I was making these cards from scraps of this pattern paper. So I had a bunch of these 2-inch strips. What I did was this one, I cut about maybe a little more than 1/4 inch off the edge. And so I put that smaller piece on this side, the larger piece on this side. And then the seam, I used some of those Love from Lizzie peel-offs to kind of cover that seam. And then there's a birthday card. So super easy to put together. I just have my envelopes ready so I can put it in there, and I have another stack of birthday cards building to send to them. So back to the card drive information. The Cubs for Cards card drive for 2026 is from March 1st through 31st. So they ask that you send your cards during that time frame. And if you go to their website, there is a place where you sign up. And so you can do that and sign up to send your cards. And then even if you can't make cards to send in, you can always donate cards. I mean, do a monetary donation if that's what you'd like to do. Or you can do both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. So here I'm thinking maybe I want to just use the 2 pieces like that, but then I think I'm going to do it the way I did the other card. So here's that 2-inch piece, and then I'm going to cut off about, is it 1/2 inch I want to cut off? Maybe 1/2 inch. Yeah, I'll cut off 1/2 inch on that side. And that way, and I'm going to do something a little different on this one. I'm going to tape them together from the back side. So I'm attaching the full piece as though it's one piece of pattern paper onto my matte layer. So for that, I'm just grabbing some washi tape from my stash, and I'm going to tape them from behind the back side of the pattern paper. That way I can also trim any excess where they're uneven on the top and the bottom, because you know when you cut your paper separately, you don't always get them exactly the same dimensions. So here it is looking like one piece. I'm going to check here, and yeah, one piece is a little higher, so I'll trim off very slightly with my guillotine trimmer. I love that I can cut off the slightest little pieces of paper, and then I'll add my peel-offs while this is still not on matte layer. So, and I'm using this kind of zigzaggy peel-off. It's like a little scallop cut. And that way I can wrap it around the back side. Make sure it kind of stays there. So I'll do that on both sides. Get this on there. And it just kind of helps to cover that seam. So it looks more like I put the 2-inch piece of pattern paper right on top of a full panel of pattern paper. It's more pleasing to my eye anyway. Okay, so I'll wrap that one around. Oops, I pulled that too tight. Let me fix that. And finish that down. Then I can add this directly, to my matte layer. So for this one, I'm going to use the blue matte layer. And you can see out of some of the mats, I cut those circles that I'm using for the sentiment. So, ran out of tape. Let me fill this up. Alrighty, that's filled back up so I can get this on my matte layer. Oh, and I probably should mention, friends, you're seeing really bad bruising on my hand. I'm okay. I didn't get injured. I just had to go to the doctor, and they did a nerve study on my hand because of my carpal tunnel. And this was the result. And this is better than it was, by the way. So I'm okay. Just easily bruise. Then I'm going to trim this down a little bit, my matte layer. I did cut my matte layer to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but I did that knowing I would come back later and trim it because I like having that white border from the card base showing. I think it looks like there's another matte layer behind there. So I can add that on there. And I always kind of do a dry fit because here I can see I can trim just a little bit more. All right. Let's put this one together. So I'll add this to my card base. There we go. And then I'll have card number 2 done. Now we're also members of the Creator Collective. Some members are going to be doing a live stream as we make some cards. So keep an eye out for that. We're excited to be able to do that. So yeah, making cards live, whew, that's always a little questionable for me, but I have a fun time doing it. I love doing crafting live. It's just like to be able to chat with everybody on in the chatterbox, in the live chat is so much fun. Okay, now for these I am using my Fairly Art glue to attach my sentiment and my matte layers because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room to try and get those circles centered. Now here you could always, you know, pop up your sentiment. You could add embellishments, all kinds of stuff. This is the great thing about this card drive. You can go hog wild and do all the fun things. So here's card number 2. All right, now I don't want this to be a 2-hour-long video, so as I put the rest of my cards together, friends, I will play a little bit of music and see you on the other end. Now friends, in my excitement to get this card done, I forgot to add the peel-offs on that, but I think it looks okay even without them. What do you think? I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm not gonna worry about that. Now here I actually did have a piece scrap big enough, so here I'm just adding that 2-inch piece to that larger piece, and then I'll trim off a little bit of excess that there is. Let me show you all 4 cards now. I think they turned out so cute. Yeah, let's do it this way so I can go close up a little better. Look at that. So super quick and easy. Made these 4 in less than half an hour, which I think is great. And just using my scraps and some sentiments I had already printed and cut with that die set from Sassy's LLC, because she did develop it. I don't know if I mentioned it. She created that die set to coordinate with her free printables. So if you'd like to join us in donating to this wonderful, wonderful organization. Their goal is to get 100,000 cards this year. And you know what, friends? I think if all of us just send a batch of 10 cards, and there's so many of us crafters out there, that will get them to their goal. So I'll link everything in the description box. I'll link to Cards for Cups so you can kind of look over all the information in case I missed anything. But again, it is a wonderful, wonderful organization and a wonderful way to share joy and share our creativity. Thanks for sticking around to the end. I'd be thrilled if you subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow me on any of my other social media platforms. As always, have a beautiful, safe, and creative day. Thanks for watching. Bye.